Did you know that in the Bible there's a baby race? There's a make my slave have sex with my husband and I'm going to claim their child as my own. That there is a huge extrapolation of a lie that many Christians are taught without even knowing that they're being taught this extrapolation of a lie. And all of this is wrapped up in the story of Jacob's family with Jacob and his wives and the 12 tribes of Israel. Now, I initially have and had an issue with the 12 tribes of Israel coming from Jacob, considering that the only reason the 12 tribes came from Jacob, who was by far the worst child between Rachel and Isaac, is the fact that he married his cousins. You see, it was more important for them to participate in incest and have the 12 tribes of Israel than it was for them to be a good person. You see, when you read this story, starting with with Isaac and Isaac and Rebekah, Isaac favored Esau. Rebekah favored Jacob. So right off the bat, you got favoritism by the parents. Esau was a good son, hunted for his father, hunted for his mother, took care of the family. Esau married a Hittite woman and a Canaanite woman. Esau stayed with his family. Even though he lost his birthright, didn't get his blessing, he still stayed with his mother and father and helped take care of them in their old age, and still grew wealthy without his father's blessing and without his birthright. He is the epitome of a good son who takes care of his family and has ambition to grow the family business. Whereas Jacob is the one who cheated his brother out of his birthright, cheated him with his mother's help out of his blessing, ran away like a coward, and then goes off to marry Rachel, gets tricked, but winds up marrying Leah, and then works another 7 years to marry Rachel. Now we're going to get deeper into this aspect of it, but we can clearly see that Esau, biggest issue with not being the one to bring about the 12 tribes, although he was the oldest, was the fact that he was willing to sell his birthright for some soup, but mainly because he didn't marry the same bloodline. And it's more about the bloodline than the belief in the God. Because when you read this story, and I'm going to hit you with something that many people don't even think about or haven't considered. When you read this story, what you see is that Laban and his daughters, Rachel and Leah, did not worship the same God that Jacob and Isaac and Abraham worshiped. They were still in their Sumerian town. They were still worshiping their Sumerian gods. Now, how do we know this? We know this because when Jacob decided to take his family and leave Laban, and Laban caught up to them because Laban's gods were stolen, he was only looking for his gods. He wasn't looking to see, Jacob, you tricked me and you took a lot of my sheep and goats. He wasn't looking for retribution for that, although that's what Jacob, as the coward that he was thinking. He was saying, you took my gods. You stole from me. And who stole from him? His daughter Rachel, the youngest. She stole from him. She stole his gods, the figurines of his gods, and she put them under a satchel under her butt. And then she lied to her father and said that she was on her menstrual cycle, and so her father could not touch the satchel that was under her butt, because that was still, although they were not worshiping the same God, in the Sumerian pantheon, Sumerian worship, the Akkadian worship, the Assyrians and many other cultures around the world during that time frame and into the Middle Ages, that was considered a woman being in a unclean state. So he couldn't touch it. So that identifies that Rachel, at least Rachel, still believed in the Sumerian God. She still was worshiping Enlil and Enki. So, being that as it may, what we then have is this baby race. Oh, so let me go back to that for just a second. There's a lie that is taught without you realizing it being taught. I've only heard one preacher actually give a sermon on it. But he actually claimed that the reason why Rachel initially could not produce any children is because she was still worshiping the gods of her father, the gods of the Sumerian or Assyrians or whatever group of people. Let's see, during this time frame, it would have been the Akkadian time frame. So she was still worshiping the Akkadian gods, which would still be Enlil and Enki. So therefore, that is why God made her barren. But yet this God allowed for Bilhah, Zilpah, and Leah to produce children for Jacob to produce the 12 tribes of Israel. Now, this is a huge extrapolation that a pastor is making, because there's absolutely nothing in the Bible whatsoever that would suggest that Leah, Zilpah, Rachel, or Bilhah ever converted to believing in the same God as Jacob. It's an assumption that they make. And they try to use the fact that Rachel was barren initially because she didn't worship the same God. But then when she claims that God has given me a son, who was she claiming? You assume she's claiming the Israelite God, but there's no actual proof of that. It is most likely she still believed in her gods, that she still believed in Enlil and Enki and Anu and Namu and Harsag. Ishtar or Elnana was the god that she was worshiping. That was the fertility god, Elnana. And so they went into this baby race. And in the baby race, Zilpah and Bilhah did not have a choice, because they were servants, they were slaves. And being servants and slaves, they were forced to have sex with Jacob. So they were sex trafficked and had to participate in a slave essaying in order to produce children for Jacob that then were claimed as Leah and Rachel's children. Now, initially, Leah didn't have a problem. Leah was just popping out babies. Boom, 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 boom. And it's interesting that Leah was the one to produce the most children from the tribe of that are part of the 12 tribes. And interesting that she produced the tribe of Judah, that she produced the tribe of Judah, which is the main one that many Christians claim, and the one that this so-called Jesus is derived from. But the one wife that he didn't want, the one that had a lazy eye, and the reason why she had to be married off is because she had a lazy eye. And so her father tricked Jacob into marrying her first, and claimed that it is because generally the oldest daughter, there's a lizard over there, sorry, the oldest daughter must be married off first. That is the custom. So Leah produces more of the 12 tribes than the other 3 women, but she is the one who is looked down upon. When Christians talk about Jacob, they focus on Rachel because Jacob loved Rachel more. So Leah, not only did she have to marry this man, but she married a man who didn't want her, didn't care for her, didn't really want to be with her. She was just baggage. But as the story goes, these slave wives also produced children of the 12 tribes. They each produced 2 children, and Rachel only produced 2 children, while Leah produced 6 of the others. It should be Leah who is promoted more than Rachel. But all in all, it demonstrates that the only value of a woman in this story is her ability to produce children. They didn't have any other value than that. And Jacob demonstrates that, because when his brother Esau is coming towards him, he places the women and the children in front of him as a shield. A human shield is what he does with these women and children, because that is their only value to him. They have no other value. So again, ladies, this Bible only values you for your ability to produce children, for your ability to get married to men through payment. That's it. That's it. That is your value. And that's why the Bible in 2 Timothy says that you will be saved through childbirth if you are still of faith and love and holiness. But childbirth is how you are saved. Always remember, you have to free yourself to be yourself, because your greatness is non-negotiable. Good journey. good vibrations.